Hi there, and welcome to the BIMvoice podcast. My name is Petru and I'm glad to have you here. I'm a civil engineer living and working in Norway since 2014, and I'm passionate about building information modeling. I truly believe change is necessary and inevitable in our industry. To implement faster, better, and less costly ways of working, digital transformation is vital, and everyone involved must stop just talking about implementing BIM and actually do it. And what way to do it better than just to learn from the ones who have done it in the past or are doing it right now? Welcome to a new episode of the BIMvoice podcast. Today we have with us an architect, point cloud evangelist, and a BIM philosopher working for 3D Interactive, a company driving the digital transformation. From Sweden, welcome Robbin Hellström.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's so nice to have you here. Can we start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, okay. I'm soon in my mid 30s. I've been working with BIM processes since 2007. Um, I've known for almost all my life I wanted to be an architect. I was 14 years old when I decided to be an architect. And then I took the long road going there, but succeeded in the end with my own firm. And I don't know why really, but I've always, I started out with Lego, as many people do, I think. So I thank Lego for actually, putting the idea of building houses in my brain. And uh, I've I've started early also being very interested in history. So I started to merge history and the concept of buildings. So when I started to draw basically in Autodesk, ADT, and Revit, um, I was able to start understanding the flow of data through components and what we actually do. So I looked at traditional drawings in a new way of seeing it. And then for many years I've been an architect working at different firms and also have my own firm. Um, and it has been a little bit of a roller coaster going up and down with the BIM processes. It's like sometimes I've been drawing just some houses for a year, and then for another year I've been working solely with like laser scanning and driving the sales up for those kind of products. Um, I'm also one of the I would say huge evangelist of point clouds. Um, Already 2011, me and a colleague of mine, we were really discussing point clouds everywhere in Sweden. Everybody thought I was crazy when I told them that everything will be scanned in the future. Um, Now, today, the same people are scanning everything. So I'm happy. It's like, it's always fun to be right in the end. Um, and I have a good saying that if you just wait long enough, timing is everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's like you just have to wait, and the timing will be there for you, maybe. Uh, so yeah, that's me. Nowadays, I'm mainly focusing on giving advice to others in the business. Um, when I was I changed my LinkedIn profile to BIM philosopher. In the beginning, that was like kind of a joke. Like I was so tired of all the BIM strategists and managers, and like it was BIM, BIM, BIM everywhere. So I thought like, but these are not the questions I want to discuss for real. So I put it out like, okay, BIM philosopher. Like we'll see what happens. And what happened was that people started like it took like two weeks, and then people like, this sounds interesting. And then I got my, it was like 2 weeks later, I got my first assignment. Um, so basically, the first assignments I got was like to sit in a room, sit in a big conference room with other people and just listen. So I just listened for like an hour, and when they were finished, I was like, okay, have you thought of this and this? And that was like what I do. So mainly tell people like, today I drink more coffee. Like 10 years ago, I was working with Revit a lot, but today it's much more coffee. Um, I was working with computer 10 years ago. Now it's pen and paper drawing processes. Um, so it has been a little bit of a travel for me when it comes to that. But I'm still, I would say I'm still quite sharp when it comes to Revit also, and modeling things. Point cloud is still a very huge part of my life. Everywhere I go, I see point clouds. Yeah, I would say that I'm a typical, like, a little bit of a crazy person.
You did not say too much about 3D interactive.
No, no. Oh, I usually don't. It's like 3D Interactive it's a business where we merged my architect firm basically with an AR company. And so today's 3D Interactive is a merge of those companies. Uh, we work a lot with spatial computing. BIM and spatial computing is the main focus. At the moment, we have developed a platform for communication within the digital building business. Um, but the thing is also that we try to really drive the digital transformation for building companies and real estate owners. Um, so yeah, so that's it's quite new for me, because like it's less than a year ago we did this merge. But today at 3D Interactive, I'm working as a business developer, and some people would call me like maybe more or less a salesman also on the business, but usually it's advisory, advising customers. And usually those goes hand in hand. Like if you advise a customer to something, and then they ask you back like, "Oh, could you help us with this?" And sometimes we can, and sometimes we will point to others. We have colleagues in the business that can help us out. So yeah, but we are focusing very much on BIM and spatial computing. It's like I told to someone yesterday. I described us like, imagine that usually we take AR, usually we make the augmented reality, but now we're also taking the reality into AR. Like, um, so when people start talking about mixed reality
Yeah.
in general, I would say that that's the thing. Mixed reality would be the name just to say that we don't really have those borders anymore. Um, and that's a really interesting focus for us as a company, that we look at, like, we don't care if it's computed, if it's real, if it's there, or if it's not. We like the idea, the concept of, like, if you can think it, if you can imagine it, if you can see it, it should be the same thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. But not many people dare to think that way.
And no, yeah, maybe not, I think so, but it's like, imagine, like, we don't see, nowadays we can talk about like the viruses, okay, coronaviruses. um, we don't see it, okay. Many people, just, well, our scientists, they can see it, in the laboratories and things. They can see it if they look at it, but regular people, we can't see it. But with the technique, with the technical assistant we have today, we could actually be able to see it. And I think that's a barrier. We as a people, as human beings, we need to understand that we are already way past, what is it, like, way past that barrier. Um, it's just a matter of, like, how do we actually compute these kind of things, and that's where we need um, experts on the subject to understand, like, not just how we can compute it technically, but how should we compute it for our brains to still function?
Yeah.
Because I think also that you can get crazy you can get crazy about too much data.
Yeah, it's so easy to get lost. We are yeah, we have way too much information. It's a really big challenge to filter the information and to pick, well, the right one.
My general advice to everyone out there in the business is just telling them, like, you know what, usually do a little bit less.
Yeah.
Like, don't try too hard, don't try to see everything, because you don't want to. You think you want to now, but you don't want to when you see it.
Yeah. You get lost.
Yeah, it's like, compare it to understand fully how bad a society can work, you know. Like, we are all happy as long as we pay our taxes and think the police will come when we call them, and the healthcare system works when we need it, you know. um, it's not a fun thing when when we realize that, oh, they're not coming, you know. uh, or like, it's something wrong with the tax system, or our politicians doesn't, you know, we don't want to know that. And I would say it's exactly the same when it comes to data in the building business. Like, for instance, we're interested to understand carbon footprint. Okay, but when we really dig down, you know, like, okay, if you want to know the carbon footprint, do you understand what the carbon footprint tells you? You know, like, um, this metal bar, do you know it comes from a mining in Ghana, which with conditions, you know, way below what is acceptable? Do you really want to know that information about your building? We are not really there yet, you know. That's why I tell people, like, don't rush into that, because you can get scared. You know, you can get really really scared.
It's the same way with BIM.
It is BIM. That's the thing. That's my concept, you know, of describing. This is BIM for real. Um, I mean, the information. It's like, imagine, like, we have always have this. I tell people, like, BIM is something we've always had. Um, we had it for 1,000 of years. You know, when the Romans built the Rome, um, they had drawings for that. The drawings described what they should build. That's BIM. We just have to understand that the only thing that is new within BIM as a concept, why we call it BIM today, it's because of the digital technique. The tools are different. We had a hammer. We have a nail gun, and in the future we may have a robot for everything that comes with it. Um, we have a computer today. We had pen and paper yesterday. That's the only difference. I usually one thing I always ask when I hold courses in BIM processes, I ask my students, like, what came first, BIM or CAD? And they always answer CAD, but that's wrong. BIM, of course, came first, because CAD, in the name you can hear it. You know, CAD is computer aided design, so you need a computer. So the CAD can't be there before the computer. But BIM, building information modeling, ah, we have done that for forever. So and I think that's the concept I want to change. It's a very clear goal for me to change the business to understand that, don't talk about BIM as something new, talk about BIM as something we have done always, so we can start talking about what the tools actually are.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with that. But I'm sure many many will perceive this very radical. But as long as you have information, as
Yeah,
long as you use information on a project to build a project, then you have BIM right there, right? It's not a tool, it's not a technology, it's a way to approach your project.
exactly. And a lot of cases today points out that we maybe, maybe we were better at this some years ago than today, because as we talked about the data, we get lost. today. Um, like I've heard some project managers in Sweden. They say like, "Oh, we want to BIM everything," and I'm like, "What do you mean? Like BIM everything? Are you? No, you don't. You know?" And they're like, "Yes, we do." And like, no, no, you absolutely don't. Um, you just don't understand the concept of BIM. That's the thing. But also, you would also hear people like really experts telling you that BIM is a concept. Okay, good, good. That's a good explanation. But then in the next sentence they will say like, yeah, and then when you have a BIM model, and I'm like, oh, you just said model twice.
Yes.
Or did you mean the CAD model? Because what you mean is a BIM model. It, I think you often mean the CAD model. BIM
Yeah.
is still BIM. BIM is just a process and concept of processes. Uh, but the CAD model is the geometrical computer drawn model. If I draw it on the paper, then it's not. Then it's still BIM, but it's not a CAD model. So people mix those explanations too much, I think. Big companies, like huge international companies, still write on their webpage BIM model. They don't even understand what the concept is about. I'm afraid of that because I think like, oh my god, they're just in this for the money.
You just have a reason why I started this podcast.
Okay, yeah,
I'm just baffled about the level of misunderstanding, and this is one of the reasons I want to help
yeah.
with the right guests, with the right knowledge to clarify that. This is one of my most important objectives.
Yes, well, I think then one of the best concept we can learn, and that we can teach then, is really that, if you really want the BIM to work for you, stop talking BIM. It's like understand that BIM is already what you do. I mean, I don't hear surgeons talking about what the concept of surgery means.
Yeah,
They talk about how you do things, like how do you do it, how do you execute it. And it's the same with the BIM concept. Like stop talking about it so much. I mean, that's why I call myself BIM philosopher. So I use the word, of course. Also, we all do. Um, but it's like it's the same as I would call myself a building engineer, not just an engineer. Why do I do that? Because I want to tell people that yes, it's about buildings. Um, so BIM should be a word we use just to understand, like what do you work with? BIM, like buildings. That's the thing.
yeah,
But don't mix in the information modeling as a concept of words to be used um, more than it is. Like of course we have information. It's like how can you do anything without information? Building information modeling. Well, without an information model of anything, you can't do anything. So just teach out that to and teach that to children already today. Like um, for instance, like we have other words for other businesses. Um, Teach the children also that yeah, it's BIM. Have them separate. Like what CAD is a tool. Um, CAD is about computer aided designing, but BIM is the business. BIM is what we have done.
yeah,
So I think it's a good way to start um, separate those things into order, because we can't have people, we can't have experts going on with telling people like, oh yeah, we should BIM it. Like what do you mean, like BIM it? It sounds ridiculous. It sounds stupid.
yeah. But how do you do that? How do you reshape this understanding in an industry where uh, yeah, you are a very very small minority of few people that think otherwise, right? And everybody, like you say, they have a complete different understanding of it, and
Yeah.
they are marketing and using and believing that, right? How do you approach this?
Well, I approach it mainly with history lessons. Uh, I like to merge it with the explanation over time, because the thing is that if we do look at history, then we can start also think of the things we actually want when we think, when we say like, oh yeah, BIM everything. We just have to understand, like, what do you mean? Yeah, well, I want all the information connected to the objects in the model. Okay, why do you want that? Because in history, all this information have been put in, like in files and other papers. We have had these stacks and stacks of papers going into a project.
We still have them. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, in my history we don't have that, but yeah, in some people's history it's the presence. I totally agree with you. Yeah, but that's the thing. Yeah, so they are there with the stacks of papers, and they start to understand, like, oh yeah, nowadays we can have a stack of paper digitally. So it's not a stack of paper anymore, it's just a file. No. um but And that's the thing. That's not in itself, it's not, I mean, um the development of BIM is exactly that. The development of BIM is that, yes, first we started out with the CAD drawing. So we started out with um, changing from pen and paper to computer. The only thing we went with then was that actually most of the drawings got uglier. Why? Because, well, it was easier to draw a straight line in the CAD program in the beginning. But on pen and paper I could draw freely, by freehand. So 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 that's the first step. Like, okay, the drawings got uglier, but the information got even, I mean, the stack of papers just grew. And then we came up with, like, oh, wait a minute, can we use databases and Excel maybe for this information? And then we started using Excel, going side by side with the CAD. And then, in the end, mainly Autodesk really got forward with merging databases with the CAD files. Good, now we can start to, but this is just a development of BIM. I would say that, imagine that maybe in the future we are not interested in half of the information we have today. Like I said, like, today, if I really get down to business with all the details in a building, nobody really wants to build that building in the end because it's too expensive. It's like we will hit like a glass ceiling of um, like, you can't do more than we do, because people will get mental about it. It's like, if I start to ask Skanska today, like, okay, but this green concrete you have, um, what do you mean with green concrete? It's still gray. It's still carbon. It's still a huge carbon footprint. It's like, but they're like, oh yeah, but it's like half the carbon footprint. Yeah, but it's still huge. It's like, it's not okay. It's like beating someone half as much is not okay still. And this is what they do. It's like they want change in the core. They just want to change, a little bit. And I think when we nowadays we have the ability to connect databases in a technical way, in such a way that it's always under surveillance. That means in the end that, well, if we mix in moral issues and ethical issues, into our building processes, in the end, I think a lot of building companies, they don't want that. Um, so I would say that we may be already in a peak where more information than what we have is not good. We are going backwards in the end. Uh, But that's just me, looking into the future a little bit.
Yeah. So how do we get to look for? We need to learn to look for the right information, or only for the information that's usable.
uh, well, we have to be honest in what we want, and I think this is where it gets really fun, I think, because it's such a simple answer. But often the simplest answers are so hard to live after. You have to be honest in what you want. Like, I ask companies directly when I advise them, or have a counselor meeting with them. Um, the first thing I ask them, like, is, what do you want? And often they give me like a bullshit answer first, right? Like, some people say, like, oh, we want to earn money, of course, and then they're like, ah, ha ha ha, and I was like, but if you want to earn money, if you really want to earn money, why don't you just fire half of your staff directly tomorrow? And then they go like, I don't want that. Okay, so you still want the costs then? And like, okay, can we get down to business? Like, yeah, like, that guy is, Sully, the captain of the airplane. I like Tom Hanks' line in the movie when he says, can we get serious now? It's a very, very good line. Um, and I think of that often when I meet people, that it's very, very rare that they get serious directly. But if we hammer about it, if we just go on asking them, like, what do you really want? If someone tell me, like, oh, I want to build the most ecological house ever, well, there is a way to that. We can give you some ideas of how to do it. But if you really want it, don't cope with something half the way, or don't mix in like economical issues in it. You know, be clear. Like, I want to make an ecological house and not costing too much. Like, okay, good. Then you actually don't want anything going too extreme. You just want something, the Swedish expression lagom. You just want some kind of middle ground instead. Um, and that's the main problem. I think we're not honest with ourselves. Like, if Skanska just would have told me, like, you know what, we don't give a shit about pollutions and carbon footprints. We just made this green concrete because we think it sounds nice, but we love concrete. Good. Tell me that you love concrete, and then maybe we can start discussing, oh, like, how much concrete should you use or not, and where should you use it. Like, yeah. And then I think, in the end customer will decide if you are allowed to go on with your business or not. Like, if H&M, would say to the world that, like, you know what, we don't give a shit about poor people in other countries. Good. Tell us. Because then when we buy our clothes, we can decide for ourselves that, yeah, I maybe you also, if you're out there and you also don't care about other people, buy, go to H&M and buy your clothes there still, no problem. So I think honesty is the very, very tough answer to that.
Yeah. How do you get companies to be honest? I don't see any way to do that.
No,
So
no, but okay, but that's the good thing, and here is where, if I was if I had a building company today, I would be really scared after hearing the explanation I would give you now. Did if you want to BIM everything, well, you will be exposed. You know, all the data there. When we connect the data correctly, you will be exposed. So that's the scary part. So I'm really happy they still they still really urge to get hold of the whole BIM process, but they don't understand that if they do that, they have to get in line. They have to correct things.
Yeah, the silos must disappear. You cannot have
Exactly. Yeah.
BIM
But
with the silos.
no, exactly. So the best thing now is that they're already disappearing without, it's out of control already. It's like you can't hide. You can't hide anymore.
Yeah,
Uh, so all the data is there. So that's why I like to talk about BIM as something we need to understand. That's something new. The development of BIM um, is now going in a direction where everything will be open and exposed, and I think that is very, very good.
yeah,
So
of course.
it's a democratic, it's a democratic movement going on, but it's going on because we are so naive when it comes to how to handle like awesome visualization of data. um, and I think it's a good thing. It's not, but I would be a little bit scared if I know that I'm not handling things correctly today.
Yeah.
So I think that's the answers from my point of view. It's like honesty, uh, to be able to set the right process for you. You have to be honest, and if you're going down that road, well, it doesn't just help being honest. You have to correct things that you do, because otherwise you will be exposed. So that's the future for the BIM development, let's say.
Yeah, and
uh,
it's about value, bringing value to the table, not cluttered uh, invoices without knowing what you did and how you did it.
exactly. So I mean, imagine that what happens if we directly today connect all the materials that we have, all the materials, connect it to the main, to the really core source data. Like, I want to know where this piece of iron comes from. I want to know where this piece of wood comes from. If I can get a list of, okay, in this building, behind this building, we have all these people, and they are at this salary, or they are living under these conditions. Um, we can set that data directly tomorrow without any problem at all. It's just a matter of, like I said, they don't want it. No,
It's too
nobody really
much,
wants. Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. It's like, I mean, you want to go to the supermarket and just buy your bananas. You don't want to know about the banana pickers.
of course.
Yeah, and that this is the same thing. Like imagine instead of the Chiquita logo on the banana, imagine having, like, on the on the smoke, on the smokes, on the cigarette packages, that you have pictures of the conditions of the guy, picking the bananas.
Oh,
like
is that true?
like that would be awesome. I would say, like, because then you look at your banana and you're like, oh my, yeah, should I buy this really, like. And I think I would say this is the future for BIM. uh, that we start connecting the data all around the world, like, going from person to material, going from a life condition to a value for the real estate owner.
Yeah, that's very good. Uh, it's not. It's too bad that only the rich guys and don't want just want to close their eyes to profit from this. It's important that everybody involved in the entire food chain, if you can call it like that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
to have an improvement in his or her
yeah.
life, right?
So like in the future, I would say that if you really want to use BIM as a concept in a good way, then you would start today by um, showing people transparently how you actually, within your building, build value, not just in the building, but through the whole chain of value.
Yeah, that
That
makes
would be
sense.
really interesting.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would say people will pay for that in the future.
Yeah, I think we have. I think first and foremost, Building Smart is doing a very good job by promoting open standards and pushing this forward. And
Yeah.
there are already some softwares coming up, like focused on circular economy, for example. There is a software in Norway called Greenstock, where
Oh
they
yeah, yeah.
try a startup. They try to do this, to map everything that it's used for big asset owners that can be
Yeah.
reused afterwards in other projects. And I think we'd get there. Of course, there is resistance, like always, but
Of course.
we are on the right path. It looks like.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, it's going on whether you want it or not. But and the interesting part is though that we will have a certain moment where you will start looking at the data coming from that. I mean, we are not really there yet. I mean, with circular economy, we're not there that we can make good analysis yet. It's like maybe a couple of years ahead, going forward. We will have the analysis to look at the data, and when we do that, what that data will show, this is really interesting also, I think, that that data will not only show that how much have we now recycled. The important data still is that it will show how much we don't. So, like, we still have, I think, quite big issues to handle. Like, like I said, nowadays it's like it's still a fun thing to do. If I tell someone like, oh yeah, we will recycle everything in this building, people go like, oh way, yeah, good, good, you know. But if I tell people like, okay, tomorrow we will recycle all the buildings we have, okay, what will happen then? Well, actually, quite a lot of big businesses will go under.
Bankrupt, yeah.
Yeah, because they will be out of work directly. So of course it's a resistance for recycling. Recycling is the opposite of like develop new things. Um, so so I think that this will be a big clash in the future.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, look at the environmental movement in general. Like, if you tell people like, oh, we shouldn't fly anywhere. We shouldn't have flights going everywhere. Okay, but now what's happening now during coronavirus is that, well, government after government saves the flight industry. Why is that? I mean, they just told us we shouldn't fly, and now they want to save the airplanes standing there on the ground. It's like, uh, but it's of course because they now realize that, oh my God, now we're losing businesses, we're losing jobs, we're losing taxes. So I don't think it's that easy that we just want to be environmental or being better or BIM everything. It's not that easy. But we're going in that direction anyway. Uh, so in general, I think it's a really good thing. But I also think we should be very, very careful about what happens during the process.
Yeah.
Uh, so when it comes to recycling and circular economy, I would say like, well, make it really clear that maybe we shouldn't recycle a building because of economy. Once again, honesty. You know, telling people like, yeah, we could recycle all these bricks, but maybe it's better to actually give the bricks to someone that doesn't have the money. Why should a big real estate owner with a lots of money, why should they recycle their bricks, not buying in new bricks, not holding up the economy? And then you have this poor guy, in the rural area. He wants to build a new house, but he can't afford the bricks. I mean, like, pay it forward. Um, if we can have if we can have a circular economy, uh, focusing instead of like giving away the things, giving away things to people that doesn't have the money, doesn't have the means to it, and keep on, keep on producing things for development sakes. I don't know. It's like, I'm still very humble, at least to this, to what can happen, but I have a very clear idea for myself that what should happen. Uh, yeah, yeah. You have to, yeah. Just tell me if you think it sounds like crazy talk or something. I do know that these are a little bit of some
No,
radical.
it sounds reasonably for me, but I'm also quite liberal and open-minded person.
Yeah.
I don't think there is abundance of this kind of people in our industry, unfortunately.
No, 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 no.
I think I don't want to be look condescending here, but I think we are more like a conservative industry.
Oh yeah, well definitely. I mean, come on. We are the only industry where we can be proud of doing something the same way we have done it always, I mean, imagine if you're going to the hospital and you have a doctor there saying like, yeah, I've been doing this since 1992, exactly the same way. You will be like, what? But in the building business, when someone like, I've been building the houses like this since 1992, you go like,
Yeah,
okay, that
that's so
sounds,
cool. I want to
yeah,
hire
yeah,
you.
yeah, that sounds good, like, and then you start wondering, like, is this really good, If someone tells you, like, yeah, yeah, I've been having the exact same, like, Word template since '97, would you really think of them as an expert on the subject, or no, I don't think so. You should.
Yeah.
So it's like when next time you hear a builder telling you like how experienced he is in doing the things the same way, I just run,
Yeah.
get out of there. Yeah,
uh, you tell us like how you are using yourself as a person, like approaching the history part to try to explain to someone the real meaning of BIM, right? But
yeah,
I'm talking, how should we, like a community of people that wants to get the word out, like you as
yeah,
Robbin, Hellström,
yeah,
and me as Petru, as a BIMvoice podcast host, and many maybe others, right?
yeah,
How should we approach this? Because even if you check, I don't know if you checked Wikipedia about the definition of building information modeling,
yeah.
but I don't. I don't agree completely with what is written there.
No, no, and if you're trying to change it, someone will change it directly after you anyway. That's the thing. If you go to Wikipedia and try to change this, someone will get there and change it. Change it back, the explanation. So I would say that maybe we need our like, we call it like the Greta moment. Maybe we need to have like, instead of now they have this demonstration of Black Lives Matter. Maybe we should have like a BIM Matter demonstration. Like,
Okay.
get out there, yeah, like go on a general strike on every building site and tell people like, yeah, can we stop, like have the Sully line, like, can we get serious now?
Yeah.
Can we stop doing this? I don't think it's fun anymore. I want a robot in my working place too. I want to build houses cheaper. Because in all businesses all over the world, everything we produce gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper because we are more efficient. Not in the building industry. An apartment today is more and more expensive. uh, and we should, like, enough is enough. We would never accept that if they just would rise the price of I mean, imagine a cheeseburger in McDonald's. Okay, it was 10 crowns before, now it's like 13. Okay, that's a maybe a healthy change of price.
Yeah.
But if you compare it to an apartment, it would go like, okay, now a cheeseburger would cost like 54 crowns. So it's actually time to maybe stop buying then the cheeseburger for 54 crowns, and it's the same thing here. You know, stop buying those damn apartments. And then people are like, oh, we need to have somewhere to stay. Well, put up some tents in the main square, and then you can see that after some months, the politicians definitely they will find out a way. I promise you. Like, the building companies will find out a way. When as soon as we got like an economical crisis in Sweden, then the building companies directly changed their price models. So it's too what do you call it, like, um well it's so, how can I describe it, like it's really hypocrisy. You do understand that okay, but this apartment just yesterday it cost around like 5 million crowns, and now you're telling me like it's only 4.2. I mean, come on, don't you understand that like more than half of the price of the apartment today, i- it's profit. It's only profit. So
Yeah,
so and I would say like, if the carpenter, I mean, a carpenter building a house he can't afford himself. Isn't that strange? It's like the main purpose of a carpenter from the beginning was to build the things that he can build more things for more people than just what he needs himself.
yeah,
Today, some carpenters during a whole lifetime, a carpenter can't even build the value for himself that he will build for others. It's strange, I
yeah.
would say.
It's at the same time. I think I don't know how it's in Sweden, but in Norway, like the house ownership percentage, it's very high. It's like towards 80, maybe more percent. So who is going to support this initiative? There is no one, because everybody has its stake in this, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you just go along with the system.
But that's what I mean. Like, I still think that's why I compare it to other kind of demonstrations. Like, if you're a minority, or if you're just in the lower 50 percentile, well, then you have to get out there.
Yeah,
Maybe we have to. I mean, how can you sell an apartment if no one will finish building it? It's
yeah,
impossible. It's the old traditional mentality of striking. um, so I would say that, well, it sounds maybe too radical for some listeners, but what I mean with this is like, if we don't like things, stop stop putting money into it.
yeah,
If you don't like how the price development is going, well, stop buying it. It's not harder than that. Like, if you really want to build cheaper, I mean, please don't think that you have to use cheaper materials, because it's not the materials, it's the profits. Every real estate owner know this. And this is also one thing that I know that scares a lot of people when I talk about it, because I mean, I know this. I've been in the business for too long. Um, all the building companies, they say they have quite well, they have small profits, but the subcontractors, the contractors, I mean, they don't have small profits. It's impossible. They have a very high cost of labor. So it's like, in the end, if you have a very high salary, well, of course, the business will have a small profit, but you still have a very high salary. Lower your salary, then we will see the profit for real. Well, then lower the profit, we will still build cheap houses without doing a thing about the house itself.
yeah,
I mean, it can't be that. I mean, imagine, we were building wooden houses 100 years ago. People were building this. Ordinary people were building a wooden house, like a cabin out in the forest, without a problem. Neighbors helped each other. It was really, really cheap. how can it be that we 100 years later can't manage to do this efficient enough? We are the most inefficient we're the most inefficient business in the world. The building business in Sweden, for instance, is like, it's really the worst. We can't get anything done. We don't. I mean, we can't manage the budget, the time frame, or the quality of the house. It's
Yeah.
because they are too, lazy, comfortable. They got too rich too fast under a time period where we just had all the money to handle. Uh, so I think that's the 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 really hard thing to do is maybe to get um, as many people, I mean enough people to actually do something about it. Um, but then, like I said, we can use the BIM processes. We can use the data to expose them at least. And when we start with that, that will get interesting, because then I'm not so sure anymore that we are a minority. I'm quite convinced that it will start being majority to understand that why am I buying these lies, still. So we can expose them. And how do you expose profitable, like how do you expose um, profit in a construction business? Well, you just compare all the data going into the building site with all the data that, with the value that should be built. It's quite easy comparison to make. So I think the data can make it for us. So instead of going out in the market square with a demonstration, we should get smart enough, and just make the right analysis for the data we already have.
Okay, understand. Which category of the participants in this process will have most to gain from this? Aside of the, like, you and me, maybe we go in as designers, like in this part, architect, designers, right? The
Yeah.
engineering part. But we have asset owners, right? The constructors, like you said. And how I believe it's the owner that knows too little today. But how do you make it in a way? How do you put it, like, not so radical, but to a lower level, to make him want to start to listen about this?
Oh yeah. Give him the opportunity to be the good guy, like showing the owner, like, you know, do you want to would you like to be like a superstar in your business? I mean, not a superstar when it comes to, earning the most at the moment, but really be a superstar, being someone that people will look up to, being someone that people will really like, not being afraid to be, that the people will hate you and things like that, but really to be loved. I think you will get some owners that really would like that idea, to be able to feel like, yeah, I've done something really, really good. Um, if they want that, then you can show them, like, okay, this is how you can analyze data to your advance. Like, um, for instance, I have some customers today. They're working quite hard with what do you call, like, customers satisfaction. Um, and we can actually measure, like, a satisfied customer is prepared to pay more. I mean, imagine, if I'm selling you a Coca-Cola can for 10 kroner, and I'm like, yeah, here's the Coke. I will have 10 crowns now. Skill. Then you, okay, here's a 10 kroner. I just want the cola, maybe. But if I would like smile for you and tell you like, yeah, God, I love cola, me too, I want 12 kroner for this cola. It's the same cola, okay? It's the same Coca-Cola can. I'm sure you will buy my cola for 12 kroner instead of that for 10, you know?
Of course, yeah.
And we have clear studies for that also, that if you're satisfied and happy, you are prepared to also make a little bit more effort for your own. So and if we can show that, if we can show that managing data, we can show people that, you know what, if you tend to correct all those things that will make people more happy, then you won't have problems with the economy anyway. And it's another way to that also. I mean, have you heard of any like um, very well-known, loved entrepreneur that lost customers? Like, have you heard of a restaurant losing all its customers because the food is so great and the service is excellent? No,
No.
it doesn't happen. It's strange that we don't understand other businesses in the building business. If we looked at that in that way, some customers do, some customers really do. But if we really understand it in that way, like, oh yeah, if we have really really good service and we have really really good, take care of what we do, then we can people will also pay us for what we do, and they will feel happy about it. I wouldn't have any problem at all, buying an apartment for 5 million Swedish crowns if I knew that that apartment is the best apartment I can buy, and the chain of value is going back all the way and everybody are happy with it. Then it would feel good. But I will never buy the same kind of apartment for 4 million crowns from companies like Skanska. I won't, you know. And I think quite a lot of people actually, reason as I do when it comes to real matters. I think that is true. Some people, of course, will always go for the lowest price, but I think most people will go for the most satisfaction.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely consider all the factors.
Yeah, but we are really bad today at we are not driving the data for other values than economically or timing or material. You see what I mean? Like architects and engineers. I mean, we are quite bad at it. We don't discuss like, oh, how happy will someone be if we do this instead of this. But maybe that's where the money is for it.
Yeah. Wow, that's quite a lot of very fresh opinion, and
Yeah,
it's a lot to digest for me.
yeah.
Lots of thoughts going on through my head right now.
So you mean I managed to change some things in the thoughts then?
Yeah, a lot of what you say, I've been aware
Yeah,
about, uh, but it's not for the faint of heart to, yeah, to have the courage to say what you just said.
yeah.
It's not
That's why
easy.
we need. That's why we needed a philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's you
Yeah.
the only philosopher you know out there? Do you have other people in your network that share your thoughts with you?
I have people that share their thoughts, but yes, I'm Sweden's first and only BIM philosopher at the moment. Uh, People ask me like, how do you become a BIM philosopher? And then I tell them like, then I tell them always like, if you still ask that question, then you're not, you know. But yeah,
Yes,
I'm hoping, really like, I hope that we will have more philosophy in our businesses in general. Like, I know, for instance, in Norway, um in the oil companies, they have to have a philosopher. It's
really.
quite interesting. Yeah.
I did
So
not
so
know that.
no, but look it up. They have a philosopher because the Norwegian government have made a really clear, good thinking. I think they tell people like that. Yeah, okay. If we're going to do something this bad, pumping up oil from the sea, then we want to be really clear on why we do it.
Like you mean for the present times, not for 10, 20 years ago, right? Because right now it's the awareness about the impact of this on our planet, right?
Yeah, no, I think they've had the philosophers for sometimes, but yeah, I mean um, what do you call it? Like the work of the philosopher is really to focus on like why do we do this? Like so we can live with ourselves for the future. Like what are our explanation of why we need to do this now? I think it's a
Yes.
really good way to handle it, and I mean, it's honest. Imagine even the Norwegian government knows that pumping up oil is something bad. They know it. That's honest. And then they tell like, okay, how can we do something bad? You know, yeah, we put a philosopher on the subject and really take this question seriously. So it's like that. I think Norway comes a long way when it comes to like, they have been honest with the problem, and then they ask themselves the question, can we get serious now? And it's yeah, I really like the idea. So and I hope that more businesses will have more philosophy to them.
Yeah. Yeah, just imagine construction companies having a philosopher. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that would
Yeah,
be.
just yeah, we have the BIM philosopher here, like, okay, why do you have that? Oh, because we are so bad at some things, so we need to cope with that. Like, for instance, Skanska should have a philosopher going through their love for concrete.
Oh my God, you hammered so hard, Skanska.
Yeah,
I,
sorry.
I think it's going to be very difficult for me to get someone from Skanska now as a guest
No,
here.
no, no. But then you should use this expression that if you're big, you have to be nice. And of course, if you're big, you will be, you will be under some
Scrutiny.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, and they know that. I mean, I have some friends in Skanska as well. They know it. Um, but that's the really, so it's not just Skanska. I should say that at least. It's not just Skanska, but Skanska is a very clear picture for people. Like
Yeah.
it's a company that really likes concrete. So they should have a philosopher for that.
Yeah. What do we recommend to people that want actually to learn more about BIM, the true meaning of BIM, and how they
Yeah.
can use it? How can they use it in the right way in their companies?
Yeah, well, my problem today is that yeah, we're quite few of us that have these kind of explanations going on. But for me, it's like people are always, I'm happy to get in contact with anyone. I have a lot of contacts in LinkedIn already. When people write me about these kind of things, I often take a lot of time to it.
Yeah.
Um, this is a really well, it's an important thing for me. It's an interest I have. It's not just a job. um, so I would be happy to answer any question people have when it comes to that matter. And also I'm at the end stage of making like, I call it a book before, but it's more like a manual, or I'm doing like a manual of how to go through the philosophical questions of it.
Wow.
So
That
so I
sounds really awesome. When do you plan
yeah.
to launch it?
Well, probably because I'm quite a slow writer, so probably I will take a part of my holiday now in the summertime to finish it finally. I've been writing for it now almost a year actually, and it I mean, people will think it's ridiculous when it comes out because I've been writing a year for something but I'm a very slow writer. That's the explanation. Sorry to say, but it's the idea of it is to give people like an idea of how you can, like you said, how can you point out what data is the important data for you to work with. That's the idea of the manual for, and to, and how is that is connected to your own philosophical questions about your business.
I see. But is this, please tell me you're writing it in English and not only Swedish.
I'm writing it in Swedish. I will then translate it into English.
Okay, and you plan, so you plan to,
I
yeah,
plan to give it out in English mainly, yes.
yeah,
But if I would write it in English, it will be even slower. Then we will launch next year. so,
yeah, yeah.
so
I understand that. Yeah,
yeah.
so it's quite easy nowadays to publish a book. So yeah, just use Amazon ebooks or
Yeah,
uh,
and I'm also planning on actually making then like, a reading of the book myself, and some YouTube videos explaining, like helping people through the process, making like a small course of how to do it,
yeah,
like a how-to guide, something. And I'm also planning to hold some BIM philosophical courses for some like real-time live meetings, for people as well. But at the moment, I don't really have the time for it. But that would be an interesting thing to do, and also just to appear in these kind of media, I would say like I think this is excellent because it's easy for people to listen to this also when they want. So
yeah, yeah. But this, unfortunately, this barely scratches the surface. But I hope it will wake the interest for as many as possible that try to, at least that are willing to challenge their understanding of BIM so far.
yeah, I mean, hopefully there is someone listening to this that realize that maybe they feel like, oh yeah, either they don't know really what to do because it's too much to do, or either they think like, oh, where should I get started? And
Yeah,
and I really hope they listen to it and think like, take it easy, um, explain to yourself your actually honest willings and believings in life, and there is where we start. Most people within the building companies, they start with the manuals, the BIM manual. I mean,
yeah,
imagine that. BIM strategy and BIM manual. I mean, I have seen so many companies having a BIM manual without a BIM strategy. And I'm like, how can you have a manual if you don't have a strategy?
yeah. That's the question. How do you convince byggherre or asset owner that he
Yeah.
needs a BIM strategy? That's the big challenge.
Well, I would say that. Well, I've tried it for some years as well. Some people understand it. I would say like this: like we don't have to convince them. Just just don't care about them. They will go under. In the end. Um, so it's like, uh, I mean, imagine it's like a building company today not using nail guns. If you don't understand that, then in the end, all the other companies that uses nail guns will get ahead of you. And the thing is with the BIM manual is like, if you don't have a BIM strategy, you don't understand the BIM manual either. Yeah. So and this is also one thing I will explain in my guiding book, is that uh, we have a process I made this process up already 2007 2008. We have a process of how to find data, and how it's connected with the BIM manual, with the BIM strategy, with the decision making in the company, uh, with the wishes and wants in the companies, and what the data actually describe. And so I think that's why I want to do this manual, because I think a lot of people higher up in the hierarchy, they really need to understand like how everything is connected in the process.
That's why it's taking so long because
Yeah,
people
yeah.
in leadership positions, they don't know it yet.
No, no,
They
no.
don't
and
don't, don't
and
have
and
it
they
clear enough.
no, no, and that's because no one have no one, some, it's not many people that dares to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
One of my best moments is with that, when I was with the CEO of a big building company in Sweden. We went into a meeting. Uh, we tried to explain things, and then when he started, I realized that, okay, he doesn't really understand this, but I told him, like, you know what, you're wrong. I'm sorry to say, but you are wrong. And then he started like, why do you tell me that? And I'm like, because it's true. You don't understand this. I do, you don't. You understand maybe some things of your business, but you don't understand this. You understand this as much as you understand maybe Microsoft Word and its core coding, like you have to call Microsoft if you have a problem with the software. Well, that's good. You have to call someone like me if you have trouble understanding the BIM process.
Yeah.
So sorry to say, but you're wrong. And then he told me, like, you know what? No one ever told me that. And that's the thing. If no one never tells him that, how can he know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually, I think people like, oh yeah, yeah, good work, yeah, keep on going, like we always tell the guy on the top, like, oh yeah, oh, you are so good, you must be awesome for doing what you do. Maybe it's time to just tell people, like, yeah, you know what? Actually, not. You're quite bad at this. You may earn the money, but you're not good at what you're doing. That's different things.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, honesty, honesty.
Yeah, yeah, but it's difficult when you don't have what you do when you don't have anybody thinking like that in your society or in your company or in your companies around you, in
Yeah,
your
yeah, that,
network.
yeah, yeah,
What do
yeah.
you do then?
Change society, change society, move. Yeah, yeah. Of course, that declare for people that, okay, I'm moving now. This can't be. No, but for real, I think, like, honesty. People often tell me, like, but how can you be honest? How can you be so honest? And I'm
Yeah,
like, how can I not? I
yeah.
don't, I don't understand how I don't.
That's a
Um,
fault of myself as well. And
yeah, yeah,
sometimes not always plays in my favor. I must admit
yeah,
that, but this is the way I am. And
yeah.
yeah, this is me.
But that's the thing. It's not about if it's in your favor or not. It's about, like often you say, like, if you want to have courage, you have to be afraid. You can't be brave without being afraid. And it's the same here. I think so. I think, like, we can't be honest if it's not a lot of lies to be exposed. Like, we have to understand that it's a natural state. It's a natural state of mind that we're only thinking of honesty when we know there is something that isn't correct.
Yeah,
And I think, like, um, try to handle your customers the same way you will handle maybe your wife or your children, or someone much more near and dear to you. Um, and if you then find out that the customer doesn't like you because you're honest, well, it's okay. You have still quite a good weapon, like, for the future, because they know that you were just honest. You were just telling what you think, and who will blame you for that?
yeah,
But yeah, of course, also make sure that you are right. Don't be wrong. If you're being honest and being wrong, that's quite, you can't tell a skinny person that it's fat. You
yeah,
can't tell a fat person he or she is skinny. So you have to be quite clear what you're honest about.
yeah,
But as long as you are, it's not a problem, I think. But yeah, you have to maybe realize that you can't get as much customers as maybe you would like to. Honesty has its price. Lying has its earnings.
Short term. Short term, yes. But yeah.
Yeah. It depends on what you deal with. If you deal with the money or you deal with the faint of heart, like
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, Robin, this was like a earthquake of conversation. This
Ah,
is
cool.
going
Yeah.
to stir up a lot of people, you know. How can
I
people
hope
get
so.
in contact with you aside of LinkedIn? You mentioned LinkedIn already.
Yeah. Well, LinkedIn is often my main source of contact today. I think it's very good, very neat to use. Otherwise, it's okay to email me. Just it's Robin at 3dinteractive.se. Um, and yeah, but I would mostly actually I would prefer LinkedIn, just a message on LinkedIn, and then I'm often happy to have like a call, have a chat on the phone, or even sit down and have a coffee. I really like coffee.
Okay. Are you visiting Norway often or?
I have actually yes. I really like Norway as well, uh, but I've been mainly in Oslo area, and I would like to go up more further north of Norway as well.
Yeah, yeah, I see. Yeah,
Um,
well, that's fine. When you
yeah,
get close to Oslo, I live close to Oslo. We can have a
yeah, sure.
coffee.
Yeah. But yeah, we should definitely meet up. At this moment, I do realize that not many people want Swedes going abroad. Um,
Yeah, with yeah, exactly. Right now, it's a little bit more difficult, yes, with the
yeah,
traveling.
it's something about not doing as everybody else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Well, Robin,
a-
yeah,
as soon
was
as we can,
amazing.
we will have a coffee.
Yeah,
Okay.
we definitely. It was amazing to have you here. Thank you very
It's
much.
really nice to be. Yeah, this was really fun to be here. Okay,
Awesome.
cool.